Man, I tell you, it gets better every time I hear it. Driver Down the Road, written by marvelous Marvin Mahaney. Looking for some great music for your next project or blues band? Hit up Marvin. Hit him up on IG or Facebook. Marvelous Marvin Mahaney. Just remember Triple M. Just remember Triple M. Hello and welcome to the Weekly Read. I am Sean Reed. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. There are new stories on independent filmmaking from Jay Horton. I call him Jason. What's up, Jason?
Hello, how's it going?
Oh, oh, that was so very meek, so very quite contrary. What's going on over there? You didn't have your smoothie this morning, my man.
Honestly, I have not had a smoothie yet today.
Well, that's probably why you're not as perky, but that's okay. We've got a perky guest, and since we've got a heart out on him, we're gonna go straight to it. So we've got to talk about this. So without further ado, actor, writer, director, entrepreneur, poncho wearing, marketing master. Some call him the Kickstarter guy, Mr. Justin Giddings. What's up, man?
What's up? I am perky. I've had my coffee and smoothies.
get all of that energy.
Right.
It's good to see you. It's been a while. It's good to see your face.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's been a bit, and then COVID happened. That little thing that we have happened last year. It's so great to be back and to talk to you guys again.
No, it's awesome to be back and in a new way, talking to folks. So let's get into this because I know
Yeah.
people have a lot of questions. So my first one that I think is very relevant, especially right now, because a lot of people have become regional, and you've gone regional again on
Yeah.
some level. So, but where did you originally grow up?
So I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. Went to college for acting at a conservatory in Cincinnati, and then moved out to LA in 2006. Yeah, and was out there for 12 years, and then at the very end of 2018, my wife and family and kids, we all moved to basically Cincinnati. I live across the river from Cincinnati.
Awesome. So you're truly a regional filmmaker. So, what if you had to describe your growing up as a movie? How would you describe it?
Oh wow, growing up as a movie, um, probably it's very odd because my parents are like hardcore SoCal, um, social libs, and then we grew up in the middle of the Bible Belt, and I was very Christian. Went to theological seminary for a year, and so like there's this weird dichotomy of like growing up in a household where I think I was really lucky to not really have a lot of like cultural like I didn't hear a lot of racial epithets growing up. We were always really we always volunteered at soup kitchens, like we were like really engaged socially, and then also there was like this hardcore religious component that kind of lived in my world as well. And so I'm trying to think of a movie where that happens and I'm like, I don't know.
Where it happens in a positive way. So, well, maybe
Right.
we'll jump back from that now. And just also, I want to throw out because I'm sure there's going to be people out there that may have questions for Justin. If you do, please put them up. Let us know,
Yeah.
and we will get them out there because we're certainly open to that. But I will keep going because I have plenty of questions.
Brilliant.
So, how do you think that the way you grew up and where you grew up influenced your approach to filmmaking today?
Oh, these are great questions. Uh, well, I definitely feel like I have this belief that filmmakers are shamans for the human tribe. And so, growing up with this sense, I think I had a pretty healthy relationship with religion when I was still religious. And so, growing up with this kind of healthy sense of grandeur and meaning, and there's something bigger than us, and we can connect over things like love and peace and kind of the positive sides of that particular faith. Um, I brought that into filmmaking and storytelling, and even just sort of my life philosophy of filmmaking being that part of my job as an artist is to help create and curate transcendent experiences for people that that the hunters and gatherers go hunt and gather, and then they need something they desire and crave something to elevate their lives and existence, and that's what art and frankly, in my opinion, particularly film, does really really well. And so I'd say it influenced it in that way, believing in greater meaning for humanity, and then searching, wrestling and struggling and searching with that in my filmmaking as a way to bring those experiences to other people.
It's awesome. I mean, it's ultimately filmmaking being a journey, a life's journey.
Yeah.
And that it's almost can be so very personal, which is something that I take with my filmmaking, I think, as well. So that's a very unique answer. And I think some of your background and some of your growing up does, speak to that, and it shows very much so. And there's a very much so a feeling even behind everything that you do, to be perfectly honest. And
Oh,
I've
thank
gotten
you.
a chance to take your courses and things like that. So one of the things that I'm very curious about, and a lot of people already know that you've worked as a successful actor. So how do you go from, maybe a guy who really doesn't even know anything about Hollywood
Yeah.
to the Kickstarter guy? I mean, how, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just that in itself is such
Yeah.
an interesting story. It's like one day you're a successful Hollywood actor, an aspiring writer, director, filmmaker, and the next day you're all of those things too, and the Kickstarter guy.
And the Kickstarter guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my my mom is very entrepreneurial, and so I grew up in, our life was because she was an entrepreneur. She was a real estate agent and entrepreneur. And so very, very, very early on, I was like, I don't like working for other people. So the entirety of my adult life, I've generally avoided jobs. If you would, like, I'm a terrible waiter. I'm a terrible waiter. I tried that because I was going to be a New York actor, and I was like, well, I better learn how to wait tables. And so bad. Um, so I've always been interested in and studied marketing, social media marketing, entrepreneurialism, that kind of thing. But obviously I had the creative career, went out to LA. I described my acting career as I got insurance from the union, but no one knew who I was. So I worked, had a couple of big things here and there, but then when one of those big things ended, I just felt really frustrated. Turned to my at the time co-star. I was like, dude, we should write some stuff. So we'll act in it. I've yet to do it, but whatever. So we decided, we wrote these 2 scripts. How are we going to pay for it? We'll just crowdfund it. And through trial, error, and hard work, we ended up raising about $100,000 for these 2 short films. And that definitely helped propel the filmmaking career, even just because there's such a mic drop that happens and an industry validation that happens when you do a successful crowdfunding campaign. But the other side of that, of course, was people started asking for help. And what started out as sessions at the Republic of Pie in North Hollywood, helping friends, relaunch or whatever. I just did 10 and then 20 and then 50 and then 100 and 200. So now I'm at 225 campaigns launched, 8.5 million raised, and a 97% success rate. It's
still pretty
so weird.
Yeah. I mean, when you say that, you just kind of go, how are you still maintaining that? But I think it's got to be a little bit of that personal touch that you still put on a lot of these campaigns. You now have the option to take your coursework without necessarily having privates with you, right? You
Correct.
kind of have
yeah.
but
I don't offer that to everybody. It's not
Yeah.
there's not really a link to buy. They have to get the link from me, because I still do the consultation with people and make sure that I feel confident that they don't need the extra hand holding that comes from the coaching. And that the fundamental information is sufficient, and for campaigns under 20K for sure. But yeah, you're right. They're what I'm trying to right now. Actually, I'm in the midst of redoing all my materials
again.
Revamping, updating. So most of the content will remain the same, but it'll be cleaner and nicer and prettier and in HD. And I'll add a bunch of modules and trainings and courses and stuff.
Well, excellent. I mean, I think it's everything that you've done with that, and having, Jason and I both having gone through the coursework, and have applied it in different ways, but still yet to actually do a campaign.
I was gonna say, what are we doing this campaign, guys?
Yeah, it's done a lot of other things.
Yeah, right.
We've interviewed you twice, so maybe we've referred people. But we still, I think it's something that's still very much that we plan to do, and so I find it very curious in that process, and how that also, I think that and you can talk more to this, but what I noticed is that it really just helps you create the materials you're going to have to create anyway. And it helps you get those things put together a little bit more quickly. And obviously, if you're going to get finance, you're going to get distributed, you need to be thinking about your project all the way. You can't be thinking about, one step or how do I get it shot or those types of things. Can you talk to that a little bit, especially what you see when you're even talking to filmmakers and what kind of comes out of that process?
Yeah, totally. That's really insightful, because I think a good crowdfunding campaign sort of checks the following box, which is showing that proving that you can find an audience, attract that audience to you, that audience is targeted, and you can get that audience so enthusiastic that they want to contribute money to you, right? At its very simplest form. So this isn't the begging and the blind carbon copy, hi friends, and all the stuff that we've all seen with bad crowdfunding. The good crowdfunding has this kind of articulating your vision in such a way that you're able to do all those things. And that's got to happen regardless of whether or not you're crowdfunding. If you're sitting in a room for an open writing assignment or something, or you're pitching your film somewhere, or you're even just having a meeting, like an introductory or general meeting with somebody in the industry, having the practice and the muscle and the skill set of, again, articulating your vision in such a way that you attract the right audience, show that audience can be monetized. That connects and bridges one's creative vision to financial execution, the business part of the show business. And if the filmmakers who figure out how to marry that are really, really successful and do really, really well. So yeah, and also it looks like you might be paused on my screen.
Yeah,
there you go. You're
there
back.
we go. There we go. We
Cool.
just
were you able to hear any of that?
I heard some of it, and then we kind of just went behind it. You still might ghostingly catch up, but I think that the best thing would be to kind of reframe, because then just repeat.
And I just went brain dead on the question. ADHD. Oh yeah, right. So the sort of connection with the value of doing this campaign and how that relates to your career in general is basically that one has to know, regardless of where they're at in the industry, crowdfunding or not, one has to know how to articulate one's creative vision in such a way that they attract a targeted audience. And crowdfunding can then prove that you know how to find and speak and curate that audience and monetize that audience. And so that skill set, while done in a very specific way with crowdfunding, in a very sort of shortened time frame with crowdfunding, is really a skill set that is necessary, period, regardless of whether you're sitting there across the table from some executives trying to sell your script or a treatment for an open writing assignment, all the way to crowdfunding, all the way to just the movies made and you're doing the interview circuit or the festival circuit. So I think it's funny, a lot of my testimonial videos for people who work with me isn't like, oh, I raised all this money. It's like, wow, this changed my life. This helped me think about my career and my artistry as it relates to the needs of the business and marrying that stuff. So you really touched on sort of the underlying philosophy. I have a parent company called Greenlight Yourself. And that's where I'm beginning to put all of my trainings and coaching and that kind of stuff under. And that's the simple philosophy is learn how to greenlight yourself, and you will never not be able to make content. You will always have that opportunity.
Well, and I think that, what we come from when you look at the history of independent film and you look at the original mavericks of independent film going back to Cassavetes and the people who were like, film wasn't even something that you really thought about doing because it was just an exorbitant kind of crazy thing to do.
Right.
Getting Peebles or, a lot of people, Oscar Michel. I mean, there's so many different people. but they had to have that willingness to, believe in what their vision was, to communicate that to other people who did not have a clue as to what they're talking about. And to be able to, it's called production in the first point, because it was to make the East Coast people understand what the heck they were doing. If not, you're saying, oh yeah, we're shooting shooting what, or we're creating we've got a cinematographer and we're creating moving images of art. They don't want to hear that either. So it was kind of figuring out that. So what do you think also from those early campaigns, and actually your career as an actor, that you really bring to, this original framework, and as you build it out to greenlighting yourself, because ultimately, yes, you have greenlit yourself.
Right. Yeah. So, with the acting, I had really great education there and really great mentors and a lot of early success with it. And the challenge that I found was that it for me wasn't satisfying that desire to really, again, like kind of create those transcendent experiences for people and basically have an impact. It felt like unless I was famous or a series regular or a star, that the impact that I wanted to really have with my artistry, 10 people have to say yes before an actor gets hired, like all the way from the, agent's assistant that is reviewing breakdowns and decides on your face, all the way to, a studio head or whatever. And that just felt like too many steps between me and the people I really wanted to connect with my artistry. And in terms of the early crowdfunding campaigns, part of that was this sense of, wow, there's this new tool here that if this continues to survive and thrive and people learn how to utilize this tool well, again, I get to cut out all the middle people, all the middle, we'll say middlemen, because usually that is the case, and go connect directly with the audience. And so, I started crowdfunding in 2013 and really helping people late 2014. So I'm coming up on almost 7.5 years now. And what I think that has meant for my filmmaking career and for the careers of my clients is this permission to let go of the myths and the rules that this industry often throws at people, because the people in charge have a certain way that they like doing it, and nobody likes change, and they have the status quo. But if that happens, then we don't get movies like Moonlight. We don't get the movies that we actually need to see. uh I don't want to get too like into politics and that kind of stuff, but I think we all know kind of what I'm referencing, which is the idea that like Hollywood has looked and put out a certain product in a very narrow margin for a very, very long time. And I think the digital advent of the internet and advent of crowdfunding, Dear White People was crowdfunded, right? This is when we started seeing alternative voices, underrepresented voices, and underrepresented content connecting with the audience. And now the industry is like, oh wait, there's an audience for this and we can make money. Oh, okay, cool. We'll go ahead and greenlight all this stuff. But it started with people greenlighting themselves directly with their audience. And I think that's the future of filmmaking.
Absolutely. And and media in general, like in however it's working or however it's functioning. And viewers, if you do have questions for Justin, feel free. We are monitoring. We're looking for it. We're here. Callers call in when we don't have any callers. And just hit up like and subscribe. So along with that, you're continually making projects and juggling a family and juggling all the different things that come with that, and maintaining a lifestyle. How do you maintain that as an individual? What are you doing to maintain balance for yourself between still maintaining, you still, I know, take an acting job here and there.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I've got to put a thing on tape today.
Yeah, so that's one, right? You
Right.
have essentially a full-time business. essentially. It's a
Yeah.
full-time business.
Yeah.
Let's not joke.
Yeah.
It's a full-time business. And then you have partners and you're a filmmaker and you're making your own projects along with that, which is kind of each of those feeding into each other.
Totally.
But there's got to be some spread there. How do you maintain that? What are you doing to keep your balance on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I'd say right now there's not a lot of balance because I'm sort of in growth mode.
Hmm.
So, what I would generally try to do is I just get really specific and curated about my day. And I spend a lot of time constantly sort of revisiting sort of the efficiency of my day, the flow of my day. When do I eat? When do I exercise? When do I write and do creative stuff? Or I'll set aside entire days. Okay, this is my project day. This is when I'm going to do the big stuff and not the little daily maintenance stuff. So I'm constantly kind of there's this anecdote about that Bill Gates has shared before, how he likes doing the dishes because every time he does the dishes, he tries to find a more efficient way to do the dishes. And so it's a little exercise for his brain to, how can I do this to be the most efficient? And that's how I feel like my scheduling and planning is I'll kind of run with something for a bit, but I'm constantly kind of looking at it to see how do I maintain some balance. So I try to be off when I'm off. Sundays are kind of sacrosanct for me in terms of doing work or meetings. But this Sunday I have a production meeting for the project we're shooting in January. So because that was the only day everybody could get in the room. Okay, cool. That's the day I do it. Whereas normally it would just be like kind of no matter what, I don't work on kind of the latter half of Saturday through Sunday. So yeah, it's that reexamination and knowing that there's a balance that needs to be achieved.
Well, and we look at this. We've got an actual question. So, from our friend Marcus Mixnuts, what do you think about the NTF/Metaverse?
So I don't know anything about the metaverse.
Mhm.
I could, context clue. But NFTs, non-fungible tokens, I think
Mhm.
is yeah. Um, it's interesting. So this is new. I think we're all kind of figuring it out as we go along. We're seeing the headlines. It feels like early crypto
Mhm.
of, well, I mean, it technically is blockchain kind of is crypto, but it was like, oh, there's this thing called Bitcoin and everyone's making millions and this kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. I've had a campaign or two talk to me about possibly integrating NFTs in their rewards or their perks.
Hmm.
And I think that is an interesting thing to explore in terms of like opinion on its longevity. Um, it feels to me like a very niche market
Mm.
that people would pay large sums for digital content. But I also grew up, iTunes was invented when I was, you know, an adult. And so I'm used to like 99-cent songs kind of idea in my head. And so um, while I'm comfortable purchasing digital content, the exclusivity piece of it doesn't particularly appeal to me, but it
Mhm.
obviously does to many, many people because it's generating millions and millions of dollars. So um, I'm in like a wait and hold. But I was like that with cryptocurrency, and I definitely think cryptocurrency, while still has a long way to go, is sort of getting its feet under it, but it's going to get its feet under it. It's going to be a part of our sort of world, I think.
It absolutely is, but I think from my side, it has to become more energy efficient to actually be legitimized into a culture that is looking at the fact that we need to pull back from things, not put more out on it. So,
Right,
you
right.
know, and as a filmmaker, it looks like you're currently on post-production on a new movie. Well, but not no movie that you're on post-production. It's When We Get There. You want to
Yeah.
talk about
So
that for me?
this is a fun story. So last spring, I was supposed to shoot a short film. So my filmmaking partner is a professor at Michigan State University. He also moved out of LA and took a job teaching film at Michigan State. And we were going to shoot a short film with his students, and then it got canceled because COVID stuff. And he was like, dude, the vaccine had just come out. He's like, I've got a group of like vaccinated actors and a cinematographer and a sound guy who's a graduate student. Do you just want to like shoot a feature? I have an idea. And I was like, in 2 weeks? Okay, let's do that. And we were both like, this is a terrible idea and it'll be awful. But we'll have the experience and we'll learn a lot, which we totally did. And who knows, maybe it'll end up okay. So we did that, and it was just like very mumblecore style. There's booms and a shot here and there. I mean, it was just like get it and move. And we handed it to an editor, and the first assembly was like, okay, maybe there's something here. So we're working on that cut.
Okay.
And I'd say at this point now it's got a decent chance of getting released. Our sort of, in some ways, sort of the challenge we've had is that our short films have started really making an impact in the industry right from the beginning, and have frankly just gotten more and more so. So our last project just won tons of best of fests and all this kind of stuff. So we've kind of set this bar really high with our short films that we have to make sure our first feature somehow meets or exceeds that bar, even if the approach was very different from our normal approach. At the same time, we're in pre-production because we're very meticulous in our pre-production. He's an illustrator, so we storyboard these beautiful storyboards. It's just very meticulous, very thoughtful. We'll spend months working even on these shorts. And now we're going into pre-production for the short. I had a short script win Slam Dance in 2020. So I've got this Slam Dance winning short, and we're going to shoot that in January. And we're in that like hyper particular, we're going to shoot on 35 millimeter, which I'm really excited about. It's my first celluloid. And so while we're like doing post on this thrown together thing that has some raw energy we like, we're back in this like highly curated, very high chance of being released at Slam Dance, like this very highly curated project where we're meticulous as hell again. So yeah, it's weird to be we're almost crafting this feature in the edit because we shot so much, and writing it in post, which is an interesting experience and one I recommend if you can make it happen, because it teaches you a lot. But yeah, while we're doing pre-production on this, like very, very, like we're trying to get A-list actor to come in for 2 days, and celluloid and all this kind of stuff, 35 million, all that thing. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, awesome. We're very excited. And so hopefully the next time that you've got a project coming out or want to talk more about that, we can bring you back. And of course, love to bring you back and talk more about what's going on in the world of crowdfunding and what's changing. Before you have to go, I've got what I like to call the 5 questions.
Okay.
And they're pretty rapid fire. So what's the snack that you have to have while shooting or editing?
Ooh. I hate red vines, but we have to have them on set because it just doesn't feel like a movie set without red vines. And then I never drink Red Bulls ever unless I'm on set. So those would be the 2.
All right. What is your guilty pleasure film or TV series that no one would ever suspect?
People who know me might suspect this, but Centaur World is a new animated kids show on Netflix that is a musical. And all the music is amazing, and the voices are like they're all Broadway stars, including legends like Brian Stokes Mitchell. I'm obsessed with it. My kids are obsessed with it. We listen to it every time we go to and from school, and it is trippy AF as well. So if you're an animation or an anime fan, go watch it. And if you partake in a little bit of cannabis beforehand, it'll all make a lot more sense and be beautifully gorgeous music. And it's weird, but I love it.
Awesome. Name the movie that makes you cry every time.
Arrival.
Okay, we'll take
Yeah.
Arrival. Name the movie that makes you laugh every time.
Dumb and Dumber. I love that movie so much.
And the 5th and final question, what's your favorite part of being a filmmaker?
Ooh, I would say being on set, surrounded by people at the top of their game in this high pressure environment where we're all working to make something beautiful. And then that moment when it happens, and you can just feel the energy like ripple out onto the set where everybody's like, yeah, yeah, we just did that. That just happened. I think that moment of communal connection in that environment is my favorite part about it. And then, and then the added bonus, of course, is then other people get to see it. And then when they feel it too, and, send an email or leave a comment, it's just all the more gratifying.
Awesome. So last question, because we've got like a minute. So where do people find more info about you, more info about the Kickstarter? You got any special promotions going on?
Yeah,
They say
yeah.
they say the weekly read. Did they get a discount? What's going on?
I'll have to figure out a code, but yeah, they could email me. There's a couple things. So pretty much any social media at Justin Giddings will work. The JUSTINGIDDINGS, the kickstarterguy.com for Kickstarter. And then I have a seminar coming up. You can go to Decision Maker Meetings, all one word, decisionmakermeetings.com. This is something I'm extremely excited about. Our beta students have been like walking out of initial meetings with like 5 figures in hand for their film. So I definitely recommend people. And we have a free masterclass on November 18th. And decisionmakermeetings.com should either forward, or there will be a button there for them to go sign up for that Eventbrite page. And then filmfestivalmastery.com is my other program for people who are getting on the film festival circuit. And that was co-founded with the guy who started Slam Dance. So it's good quality stuff there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. I know that you have things that you have to do, so we appreciate you spending the time with us. And we will talk to you next time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. And thanks for the flexibility. I know I got a jet today, but it's always an honor and pleasure. And thanks for having me. And I'll see you, Jason. I know you're monitoring and can hear me and see me. So peace out, guys.
Peace out. Have a good one. That was awesome getting to talk to Justin. He's always just somebody who has so much to say about fundraising. What did you think there, Jason? Some good information. Are you unmuted?
Now I'm unmuted. I'm
Okay.
unmuted now. You can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the one thing that he said, and I think he said this the first time we interviewed him as well, he talked about the different applications for crowdfunding.
Mhm.
And, we took the course, and we didn't actually even do a crowdfunder off of it, but I totally think the course was more than worth it for the stuff that I learned about basic marketing. Because I think at its essence, that's what crowdfunding is. It's marketing. And there's so much to be learned through that. And I use it in pretty much every aspect of, my filmmaking business today. I mean, yeah.
It really breaks down your package, what's effective, what's not effective, what's reaching an audience, what's not reaching an audience, what's clear, what's not clear. And so it gives you, I think, a more marketing approach to your material and thinking like a marketing executive, whereas a lot of times as filmmakers, that's maybe not the thing we want to think about.
Right.
So
Well, I also like about what I like about the course too is it's so nuts and bolts. Like it's not theory. I mean, all the theory stuff is there, but he gives you like step by step by step. Post this many times a day. Make the first post this, the second post this, the third post that. It even has samples of like if you're sending out newsletters or whatever, he'll have samples where he's written like this is what it should kind of look like, stuff like that. So I found it very hands-on. As a matter of fact, my I have a marketing video on this channel, like 4-step marketing for independent films or something like that. And to be 100% honest, 80% of that, I'm lifting from his course.
yes, no, he definitely has some great information, and even just in the way to how to reach out to people to get awareness, different ways to reach out to them, sales techniques, ultimately, just getting people on your team, a lot of different really effective, clear things that really help out. So, yes, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing that strikes me about Justin in particular is, he's very entrepreneurial minded, but like when it comes to his films and his filmmaking, like, it never feels like a cash grab. It always feels like very, whatever, artistically pure, if you want. Anyway, and there's a lot of care in his projects, all of them, which, also explains why he hasn't jumped into features yet.
Well, absolutely, and why he is taking the approach that he's taken, and so yeah, and you can see that in his work, and so I'm looking forward to seeing more from him, and that leads us to talking a little about what's going on next week from us. We've got Jason. We've got a movie premiere episode. Oh man.
Ooh.
Oh man, this one looks like a different kind of fun from one of my favorite micro budget production genius producers, Pig Driver X, Mr. Mike Stolaroff, and with Mark Mervis, I believe. Yes, Mark Mervis, the writer of 21 Bridges and The Philly Kid. That's actually Adam Mervis. And we will talk to him about his new movie that Adam wrote and directed, The Last Days of Capitalism. A man and a woman begin a complex affair over 72 hours in a Las Vegas penthouse. Let's check out the trailer.
Say something really mean to me.
Why?
Just indulge me.
Mean.
Tell me something I can't see from the inside.
You aren't that slick, charming, or smart. You're acting at it. You're going off a picture you saw in a magazine.
Okay, go.
You took your idea of Ben Affleck and you smashed him together with somebody who...
Keep going.
I haven't really been orgasming.
Have you been in love lately?
My entire generation are a bunch of frustrated dudes that are just jerking off and talking to themselves.
Don't feel guilty, it's only supply and demand.
You are very quick.
Oh, for a woman.
Those words are only show. Are you ready to show me?
What do you see?
The truth?
Not now, what?
Sadness.
All men my age are sad.
Why?
Because their dreams are done.
Your real name?
Clarissa is my real name.
Your real name?
Jennifer.
What's your real name?
Up here you get to make up your own story. But down there your story gets branded on you the moment you're born. There is no power in that. Only struggle.
Was it real?
From sea to shining sea.
Oh man, now that's some real emotional attention. One of my favorite types of movies because, we're looking at something that's, there's some heavy duty stuff in there. So, hey, Jason. So, but they are kind of breaking the one major rule here. Which one is that?
Were they wearing white after Labor Day?
Oh no, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Because I know every time you come back from Vegas, you don't say anything.
Yeah, well, to be honest, nothing ever happens to me in Vegas, but anyway.
You say that, but I think that you're just one of those people who knows how to keep it down.
Yeah.
But
well, what strikes me about it is just the scale. Like it looks very nice, super professional. It looks to be like it's pretty much two people in a hotel room, which it's they say use what you have access to and make the movie the best you can. And this looks like it really took that mantle.
Well, I mean, there's different levels you can take of taking two people and shooting them in a hotel room. Starting with actually having some lighting and moving some stuff around and really, focusing on how to make that creative. And I think that you can already see that. And that's kind of a signature of Mark as a producer, that is certainly, you know, whichever directors are involved and writers and whoever he's working with, they certainly have a lot of stuff going on, and excuse me for that. But they certainly have a lot of stuff that they can actually do and have going through it. But he has a signature of creating continuous quality.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to talking to him about everything
Right.
that is going on.
You said the writer and director was a part of it as well, part of the interview.
Oh yes, we have
Oh, that's awesome.
both of them. So we have Adam Mervis and we have Mark Stoloroff next week. That movie drops on November 12th. Actually, I guess it dropped today. So people are going to be able to see it, and we'll be talking to some of the creative team this next week. So tune in. Let's keep that conversation going. Jason, how do they get in touch with you?
With me?
Yes, with you.
You don't. No, I'm just kidding. I have a website, thejhorton.com, www.thejhorton.com. You can pretty much find all of my stuff there. Links to IMDb and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, I believe, all of that stuff, and my email's on there.
Hit me up on IG at Sean Alden Reed or New Cinema Tribe, or directly through my company website, newcinematribe.com. And of course, check out world1tv.com. And see you next Friday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Once again, thanks to our friend Justin Giddings for joining us today. Thanks for Jay Shorten for letting us use the channel. And of course, thanks to you for watching. I'm out.